the name of it, but it's a PDF file that allows you to go in there and put all your expenses in there, and it does the math for you. So every time you do that, it will adjust the math. And so you don't have to calculate anything. I love it. And so that's what I do. And it allows you can do it every month. You can go in there and change things, and it calculates it. It'll ask, like, how much do you make total in a month? So you just basically put, the general amount that you make, and then it goes off that number. And then you put all your expenses in, and then it tells you what you have left each month that you can potentially save. And if you start seeing red, when it shows like you're negative this, then there's something going on. And so that's when you have to adjust. But these things are good. I mean, with technology the way it is now, you really don't have to do nearly as much work as you used to. I can tell you back in the early 2000s, I used to keep like books, and I used to write all my stuff down all the time, and I calculated it all myself. And so now you just get to do this. And so recap some of the things that we've covered. The money, potholes, we've talked about that. What are some of these potholes, that we're experiencing? Pawn shops, avoiding going to those places, making sure that you really look at your wants and your needs, so that way, you're not, spending way too much on entertainment or some other areas. Certainly, I think, you've got a budget. I mean, at the end of the day, and how many of us can sit here and say, without question, how much we make every month and how much we spend every month? Can we say within a $5 or $10 range? Probably not. Most of us don't do that. To me, that's scary a little bit, because that means and this is why most people end up facing these challenges where they have to go to a pawn shop or other things, or maybe borrow money from friends or family or whatever it may be, is because they're not tracking where it's all going. And maybe in some cases we don't want to know. We don't want to know where it's all going, because then what happens if we know? Got to face a little bit of that reality. Some of us would be surprised on how much money we spend on one thing. One of my guilty pleasures is pop. I love pop. I like the fountain drinks. I like going there. Now, one thing I like to do to help me save a little bit of money is I like to get a lot of refills. And I'll have a pop that a cup that I bring up here, and if I go down, to the Lion's Den, it's 69 cents for a refill. Doesn't matter what size drink you have. And so I normally have a 32 ounce. I go in there, it's 69 cents plus tax, so 74 cents. So 74 cents, I get a pop. And I'm guilty of that. I like those pops. I know I don't have to have that. But you start adding up how much you spend on that pop in those fountain drinks, and maybe just a little snack or candy bar here and there, but you start tracking all that, what you do in 1 month, you'd be surprised that sometimes it could be $100, $150 a month when you factor in just those little things that you get along the way. Going to a gas station, getting something, whatever it may be, and it adds up. And then you start thinking, okay, if I'm spending $100 a month on some of this little miscellaneous junk stuff that I don't need, that's $1,200 a year that I'm spending on something that I really don't even need. And then you start adding in all these other things that you're doing as well, and then you're looking at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in some cases down the road that you could be spending on things that you really don't need. And what could you be doing with that money? Maybe you're saving. I can tell you one thing that I was really good at, how cheap I was as a college student. Now, I got scholarships, I got Pell Grant, I penny pinched. We ate noodles like there was no tomorrow. That's the poor man's food right there. But one thing that we would do is, because I wanted to mix it up because the wife didn't really like eating noodles every day, I used to buy pulley sausage at Save-A-Lot. Now back then it was $2.99. It's gone up a little bit more, and I'm not too happy about that. But you get pulley sausage, you get 16 of them in a package, so it was a good deal. I would chop them up in little bitty. I'd take one and I'd put that into the noodles and stir it up, so that way we have a little bit of meat in those noodles. So I don't know if she liked it that much, but it was good. I still miss that a little bit. So I always tell her, hey, we can go back to eating noodles and pulley sausage. But that's what we did to save money. And so sometimes our monthly bill for groceries, at least back in 99, 2000 range, we were spending between $45 and $50 a month for 2 people to eat. I was skinny. I was in the 140s. So I was pretty skinny. So, but hey, you do what you got to do. So now I'm not saying go that drastic. So I take it to the extreme, I guess. But what I'm saying is there are ways that you can cut back a little bit here and there and save a little bit. So when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I had saved up close to $30,000 just when I graduated. I had no debt. I had $30,000 saved up at that point, just because of that little penny pinching. I normally worked only part-time jobs. I normally only worked more than 20, 25 hours a week. We lived, in married student housing on campus, so we got a better deal that way at the college that we were at. So I mean, our rent at that point was around $250 to $300, depending on which college that we were at. So, but it was all bills included. We did not have cable, didn't do that. I had a friend that worked at a pawn shop, and so he gave me really good deals on movies that I could buy there. So, I mean, a lot of times I'd buy one, he'd give me like 4 or 5 for free. So I don't know if he was supposed to do that, but he did. And so I loaded up on the movies. And so we found those ways, to save and penny pinch and have that. And so by having that money saved up, what did it do? It took off pressure. I saw other students, and this happens all the time. You work 40 hours a week or whatever it may be, you're stressed out beyond belief, you're trying to juggle full-time, course load, plus you're working full-time or close to full-time, and you don't have a lot of time to study, and you're normally exhausted after you're working, you don't want to study anyway. And so what's happening, and then of course you got all these bills coming in, so you can't reduce your hours. And so what normally suffers? Grades. I mean, normally grades are going to suffer a little bit. Something will suffer. Either your work is going to suffer or your grades are going to suffer, but something has to give. And so I didn't have to worry about that so much because I didn't have the pressures when it came to the money part because we lived so cheap. We just didn't have a lot of bills coming in. And so by saving that money, I knew that it was there. And so the pressure was off on that front. I knew that if I had to dip into it, I could. But I just kept on, jotting down everything that we spent and so forth. It took time, but it took pressure off of where I could focus on school. And that I liked. And I could choose the job that I wanted to do, not the job that I had to do to make money. So I normally worked on campus because they work around your schedule. So that was nice. And so the pressure was off there. And so I would suggest by saving and really knowing where your money's going, in the long term, it's going to make going to college a little bit more enjoyable, and you're not going to be stressed out quite as much. Because I can tell you there are definitely classes out there that are going to eat up your time. And so I know like Socorro, AP class, it's a tough one, takes a lot of time. But we are all going to have a class out there that is going to eat up your time eventually. And so I just say find ways where you can try to cut so that way you don't have to work a ton of hours. Now everybody's circumstance is different. This is just my example. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm right. We didn't have kids at the time, so that made a huge difference for us. Because I mean, I can tell you, it's expensive now. I have a 17-month kid, and he's expensive. I mean, he eats a ton of food, which I don't understand. He probably spends more than we, spent back in the day. And so, and when we were having to buy formula, which we don't have to now, but man, that was like $30-something, $39 for formula. I'm thinking, man, we went to Sam's too, got the bulk, but I mean, he still went through it pretty fast. And so it adds up. I can't tell you how much money I spent on gallons of milk now. And so I keep telling her, just cut it back a little bit, I mean, he don't have to be that healthy. But no, she don't listen to me. So at the end, now what? So you need to identify your wants and your needs. So I would definitely suggest sometime after this workshop, actually just sit down and try to jot down some of that, for your own personal deal. I mean, you don't have to even show anyone if you don't want to, but just, write it down. Look at what your wants are, what your needs are, especially when it comes to your bills that you're paying every month. Set financial goals. I always try to set a number, each semester about what I wanted to try to save. And so if it was $1,000 for that semester, I just tried to find, okay, how can I do this? How much money do I need to be putting back a week or maybe a month to try to reach that goal? Where can I be cutting to try to take a little bit of money from that to put in towards this goal? And so that's what I used to always do. My wife, she could care less about any of this stuff. I did it all. I mean, she's like, hey, you just take care of that. She didn't care. And that's okay. So maybe if you have, a partner, and your husband, your wife, is really good at that, obviously let them do it. But I would say always make sure that you are aware of what's going on, because if you're both on not the same page, there's going to be some issues later on. And so when I did the majority of this, I still wanted my wife to know what we were doing and where the money's going, so that way, she would know we're on the same page. Now, most of the time, she just go, yeah. But that's okay. At least I let her know. So, create a budget, track, your spending. Obviously avoid those money traps. And of course, tell your friends what you know. I mean, because you may be seeing your friends spending like this, and you can say, hey, you can scale back a little bit. They may tell you, okay, we're not friends anymore now. And at the end of the day, that's the information from the website. You can always go there, cash course. So remember, there's still a little bit of pizza. So grab you a slice of pizza or whatever before you leave or something. And that's all we've got. And you have a handout there that's going to help you with budgeting and different tips there. It was just a handout that they provided. So I definitely encourage you to actually go there and look at it. They have different activities that you can also do on there a little bit, which I think is good.